Welcome, Aries, to the month of November 2018. I'm Megan of North Star Astrology, and this is another general transits reading for those born with their sun, moon, and or rising signs in the fiery sign of Aries the Ram. Now, in case you haven't noticed by now, I did indeed have some minor hand surgery, but it's going to take me 6 weeks to recover. However, I'm still going to do these charts for you. So, the month starts out on November 2nd with Venus sextiling the moon. Venus currently transiting your 7th house of others in Libra, sextiling the moon in Leo in your 5th house. So from the 7th to the 5th houses, and the moon in Leo in your 5th house of romance and creativity, positively, short but sweetly sextiling your emotions to your love nature, and actually Venus in its ruling position of your opposite sun sign of Libra in your 7th house, sextiling the moon at 4:38, and this then will be a very positive and emotionally pleasant time on November 2nd. Then on November 4th, Jupiter in your 8th house in Scorpio sextiles the moon. Once the moon comes into your 6th house of work, health, and service given in Virgo, and sextiles, see, 2 houses, 2 signs away, this 60-degree sextile between the moon in your 6th house to Jupiter in your 8th house, giving you largely a positive, but now, albeit, now this is a sensitive placement for the moon to be in, so you just want to watch your emotions. However, you will possibly or may even receive a huge raise as the 8th house deals with others as resources. Then on November 6th, Venus conjuncts the moon once the moon enters Libra at 8:20 and conjuncts Venus just opposite you. And so this conjunction will give you that feeling of emotional intensity, but in a loving way, and that'll be good. Then on November 6th as well, Uranus, the planet Uranus, which has been in Taurus, will move back into Aries, your sign Aries, in your 1st house of the self and body at 1901, going retrograde In other words, at 19 hours and 1 minute, goes retrograde, and doesn't go direct until January 6th, 2019, when it moves back into Taurus on March 6th, 2019. So you will have the planet Uranus in your first house of the self and body, which will give you, at times, an erratic feeling or the ability to spontaneously really get out there and present yourself. And that will be something spectacular in a sense. Then also on November 6th, the north node of the moon moves out of Leo and enters the sign of Cancer into your fourth house of the home. And that happens at 17 hours 38 minutes until it will actually move into the sign of Gemini on May 5th, 2020. So this will remain, the north node of the moon, or the dragon's head, will remain in your fourth house of the home until May 5th, 2020, for 2 more years. So now that happens on November 6th, when the north node of the moon leaves your 5th house and enters your 4th. And on November 7th, the new moon occurs in your 8th house in Scorpio at 16 hours 3 minutes at 15 degrees Scorpio, 11 minutes. And a new horizon has occurred with this new moon in terms of receiving others as resources. In other words, you'll have a new perspective and emotionally be able to feel good about this new moon there. Then on November 8th, Jupiter inconjuncts, or also known as a quincunx, Jupiter 3, 4, 5. Now this is a 5 sign or 5 houses away, and I didn't or wasn't able to come up with it, but what it looks like is it looks like a line with, like a sawhorse almost. It's a line with an upside down V underneath that line, and this quincunx, or inconjunct also known as, which happens on November 8th between Jupiter in your 8th house to Uranus now in your sign in your 1st house, will give you the feeling of, there's a sense of inadequacy. That's what I got from an aspect that I saw a long time ago with the inconjunct. It will tend to make you feel an inadequacy. Not that you will be inadequate, but it will make you feel there, because, well, there is a sense of, like, similar to the opposition, only instead of 6 signs or 180, it's a bit of a trying time. Anyway, back to, yeah, I'm not really quite sure how that will affect you, but that's November 8th. Okay, then on November 8th as well, Your ruling planet Mars in Aquarius in your 11th house of friendships squares the new moon. So from your 8th to your 11th houses, this challenging 90-degree square at 10 hours 43 minutes will give you the feeling that your assertions toward and with your friends and or group events, or assertions toward your goals, may not always be in alignment with something to do with trying to obtain others' resources toward those goals, so there may be a bit of a challenge with that. Then, on November 8th, Jupiter enters its ruling position. Because Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, Jupiter enters Sagittarius in your 9th house at 3 hours 36 minutes. And what this will do for you is give you that feeling of a largely philosophical feeling. So, excuse me. Then on November 11th, Uranus trines the moon. Once the moon goes into your 9th house, also this is a very philosophical position. This stands for being very philosophical when the moon is in the 9th house. Harmonious, though. This is a harmonious moon trine Uranus aspect from your 9th to your 1st house. And so emotionally, you will be feeling very harmonious now that Uranus is in your sign, in Aries, your sign, in your 1st house of the self and body, and harmoniously trining your emotions to the house of the higher mind. So being able to get in touch with yourself, your higher self, is a very good thing to do with that aspect. Then on November 13th, Uranus squares the moon once the moon goes into your 10th house of career, public standing, and ego, and then proceeds to square that planet of Uranus. Now this square can be a bit of a irritation, maybe, perhaps, or trying time, a challenge, or irritation to your ego, as it is the house of the ego. And Uranus being now in your sign can give you sudden impulsive emotion. This will make you feel emotionally impulsive toward something going on in your career sector. Okay. Then the first quarter moon occurs on November 15th. The first quarter moon at 14 hours 55 minutes, or roughly 2:55 in the morning, at 23 degrees Aquarius, 11 minutes. Now firsts, as stemming from or coming off that new moon. First quarter phase moon in your 11th house. Gives you that sense of taking first steps to getting toward your goals, as this is also the 11th house deals with goals, hopes, and wishes. So that'll help there. Then also on November 15th, Mars then enters the sign of Pisces. So now Mars is in Pisces rather than being in Aquarius, and Mars enters your 12th house of the subconscious mind and dreams, or hidden matters. And that happens at 22 hours and 22 minutes, 22:22. Then, on November 16th, Uranus sextiles the moon. So Uranus being in your sign now sextiles the moon in Aquarius. So an air to fire energy, positive, short but sweet. This sextile will give you the ability to positively get along with your friends in a general way, as this is more of like a general way, just like when the sun and moon sextile each other. So that's a very pleasant aspect to have at this time. Then on November 16th, Venus stations direct, as it had been retrograde, but it stations direct at 10 hours 52 minutes in Libra, in your 7th house of others. And on November 17th, Mercury goes retrograde. Mercury goes retrograde. Okay. On November 17th at 11 hours 34 minutes in your 9th house of higher education, law, and higher learning, and religion and philosophy, and long-distance travels. So you may definitely want to look over your plane ticket on this day and a little after or a little before, because when Mercury goes retrograde, mishaps and misunderstandings in travel can occur. Then on the following day, November 18th, the sun trines the moon, or so thereabouts there, okay. Moon in Pisces, the sun still in Scorpio. Now the sun trines the moon. And this very harmonious trine at 8:05 creates a harmony between an intensity of the sun in Scorpio, between this harmony between others' resources and how you might emotionally be able to tap into your subconscious mind somehow with all this energy of the action planet Mars in your house of dreams. You may very well be able to tap in to your subconscious mind and harmoniously come up with a solution for obtaining others' resources if you need them. Then, on November 20th, Uranus conjuncts the moon, as once the moon goes into your sign, Aries. So now there's a conjunction between the moon and Uranus, giving you giving your emotions maybe that much more of a like a feeling of, and if you're wondering what that sound is, that's my dog drinking her water. Oh, it's been very humid lately, and it looks like we're going to get some rain. Okay, then, okay, anyway, Gretel, come lie down, honey. Gretel, go lie down. Okay, Moon, good girl, go lie down. Okay, Moon conjunct Uranus in your first house of the self and body. This will give your emotions a feeling of maybe a bit like Libra in a sense, or even like an Aquarius, as Uranus rules Aquarius, somewhat of like a flip-flop and erratic feeling when the Moon conjuncts Uranus. Then on November 22nd, the Sun enters Sagittarius. So I'm going to move this over here. The Sun now enters Sagittarius as we're moving into the winter season, and that happens at 9 hours 3 minutes. Also that's a fire sign like yourself once the Sun is in Sagittarius. And also on November 22nd, Pluto, which has been transiting your 10th house of career, trines the Moon in Taurus once the Moon moves into your second house of money. And now that Pluto had gone direct last month, now this Pluto harmoniously trining the Moon in Taurus, as they're both in Earth signs, Capricorn, Pluto in Capricorn in your 10th house of career, to the Moon in Taurus in your second house of money and what you value, now harmoniously trines each other, giving you the ability to emotionally obtain some way without running roughshod, or in other words, this gives you the ability to not allow your ego to get in the way of obtaining a raise, perhaps, or a new promotion. Then on November 23rd, then the full moon occurs in your second house of money and what you value, also in Taurus. Or, excuse me, no, I guess that would be in your third house, pardon me, at 0 degrees Gemini, 52 minutes. Okay, so the full moon occurs in your third house of communications as the Sun just entered your 9th. So, now I'm being hard on myself with that tone of voice. Sorry. I'm saying sorry to myself. Okay, November 25th, now Neptune in Pisces stations direct. So that will help any kind of befuddled subconscious minds out there, especially those of you that are Pisces that are listening to this, but especially for you, Aries, as you rule the head. Aries rules the head and the eyes and the brain sector of the body. Neptune, now stationing direct, will help in less befuddlement, and That'll happen at 1:09. Neptune stations direct. It's going to be great for all of us. Okay, and then on November 25th as well, Uranus sextiles that waning full moon. So Uranus in your sign, in your first house of the self and body, will now positively sextile the waning full moon in your third house of communications, and giving you, again, a short but sweet positive sense that possibly you're doing something right within communications, and or lots of activity within short distance travels, and or, in other words, sudden. It's going to be like a sudden, spontaneous, as the planet Uranus deals with that, sudden, spontaneous, but because it's a positive sextile, giving you that much more incentive to express yourself fluidly, kind of intellectually, as it's a Geminian placement. Then on November 27th, Uranus squares the moon. Once the moon comes into Cancer, into your fourth house of the home, and now Uranus in Aries, giving you that a bit of emotional irritation, maybe, within the home. Emotionally, something's going to be possibly upsetting you on November 27th. As you know, it is around Thanksgiving. By the way, happy Thanksgiving to all of you that celebrate Thanksgiving. And let's see. November 29th, Jupiter semi-squares. It's like very much like a much shorter square. I think semi-square or sesqui-square. I forget. Let's see. Pluto. It's a very short but sweet. I'm trying to think here. Let's see here. Semi-square. I don't have an aspect for that because it's a very rare thing and not very common, but it's a 45-degree aspect between Jupiter and Pluto at 4:29 on November 29th, and I'm not quite sure how that semi-square will affect you. However, it's a Jupiter-Pluto semi-square. Well, I guess it's yet another little bit of a challenge. Okay, then on November 29th as well, Uranus trines the moon. Once the moon comes into your fifth house of romance and creativity in Leo, and harmoniously the two trine each other, the moon in Leo in your, so from your fifth house to your first house, the moon in Leo harmoniously trines the planet Uranus in your sign, Aries. giving you, Gretel, that's enough, honey. A very harmonious feeling about yourself. And then at which time, I believe the last quarter moon happens soon after. Anywho, I hope you, yeah, this happens actually, the last quarter moon happens at 7 degrees Virgo, 43 minutes. And or 0 hours, 20 minutes. Okay, so this wraps up the reading, pun intended, because I've got to eventually unwrap this because it's kind of sore and hurting. Unfortunately, I was diagnosed with Dupuytrens Contracture, which means I'm going to eventually lose the use of my hands, and I hope not. Hopefully not for many years to come. But it's like it's like late at night, it's like lots of this, my pinky fingers splay out and stuff. There was a mass found, as I pointed out in the other readings, and I thought it was due to lifting up that log, but it's not. Anywho, I want to thank you for looking up upon the North Star, and please have a peaceful Thanksgiving. Feel free to like, give me a thumbs up, comment down below, wishing me a happy Thanksgiving, and or subscribe. I don't celebrate Thanksgiving because I don't have very much family left. And that's the only reason. I mean, I celebrate it like in a very small way, but I don't have a family gathering, so to speak. But those of you or those of you who do, have a happy Thanksgiving. Okay? And I hope you did enjoy this reading. And until we see each other next month, bye for now.